Happy Friday! Welcome back to my channel, or if you happen to be new here, my name is Jess. As you can tell from the title of this video, I'm getting rid of a bunch of crap books that I didn't like today. Some of these actually I did like, but I'm going to buy different editions for. A couple of these I just absolutely hated and need to get them out of my collection. But let's go and get started because I have quite a few, and I'm actually really proud of myself because I've decided that once every season I will be culling the books that I don't like, and since it is springtime, it's time to do a little bit of spring cleaning. So I'm just gonna go over all the books that I don't want, and I tend to either donate them or sell them to a half-price books that I have here in my town. So that's what I do with the books that I don't like, but let's go ahead and just get started. Alright, the first books that I have here are actually a series I read when I was much younger, and it is Amber Spyglass, Subtle Knife, and Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. I am not actually a fan of the editions that I have. I really want the older edition, so I'm going to be getting rid of these. They're actually really hard to photograph. They're really hard to read as well. I don't know what it is about the binding of these books, but I just don't really like these editions. I do want to read the series again. I did read, I think, the first and second one when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, something like that. So I do want to reread these, but I just really don't like these editions, so I'm going to go ahead and sell them because I imagine people will think that these are very beautiful and they're going to want them, but I personally just don't like these editions, unfortunately. Now the next book I'm going to get rid of is actually by Neil Gaiman, which really hurts my little soul, but I just did not like this book, and going into it I didn't know it was actually not a book that he had written, and it is Unnatural Creatures. These are short stories that Neil Gaiman actually selected by a ton of different authors. I really like the little art, like chapter arts that are in here, but I just really didn't like any of these stories. I didn't like them at all, and I think I got like 1/3 of the way through it and was like, I'm not liking any of these. I didn't want to continue reading. I had no interest in reading these, and even though it is a beautiful book and I do have like an entire Neil Gaiman collection, I just don't like this book and I don't want to hold on to it because I'm hoping somebody else somewhere down the line is going to love it. So I'm really sad to see it go, but it's time. It's just time to get off my shelves. And the next book I have here is also a book by Neil Gaiman, and I got 207 pages into it, which for the record is like 5/6 of the way through it, and it is Trigger Warning. I actually pre-ordered this book and then ended up canceling my pre-order because I wasn't sure if I really wanted it. I was reading some reviews that were kind of meh, and then my husband actually got it for me for my birthday like 2 years ago, a year ago. I just don't like it. Like I said, I read most of it, but I'm not really a fan, and even though it's beautiful and even though it was a gift, I'm sure my husband will understand, I just don't like it and I don't want to keep it on my shelves. So that is 2 Neil Gaiman books that I'm actually going to be getting rid of, which you would think I don't like his writing, but I actually really love his writing styles. I think I'm just not a fan of short story compilations by him. I don't really like them. Now here's a book I should have unhauled a long time ago, and it is Abundance of Katherines by John Green. I have no desire to read this book. I've heard it's confusing. I've heard it's all over the place. I won't really get into anything. It has won awards, but for some reason it just doesn't sound like something that I'm going to like, so why keep it? I have a couple of other John Green books that I absolutely love. Turtles All the Way Down, Looking for Alaska. I adore those books, but this one is just not really speaking my language, so I am probably going to sell or donate this one as well. Now the next book I have here I'm actually really pissed off about because I bought this book brand new and really wanted to love it, and then started a buddy read with a friend, and me and her both ended up DNFing it. Now I went so far as to absolutely hate this book. I hate it. It may be my least favorite book that I have attempted to read this year, and that would be All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. I am really glad that other people are liking this book, but the few people that I've talked to have said that it's completely all over the place and not really worth it. The thing about Maggie is I tend to like her endings a lot, and I do like her kind of character development, but her writing style is too floral. It's too like all over the place, and I just, well, from what I read, how far into this did I get? I got up to page 45 and then ended up DNFing it. Like, that's how much I disliked this. It was just really confusing, and I don't think I'm a fan of Maggie's writing style, honestly. But her vernacular is really strange, but I am going to continue with the Raven Boys, but this one, I'm going to sell it. I don't like it at all. Now the next book I have here is actually a book that I love, but I'm never going to read again, and I want somebody else to have the chance to read it. It is Alice I Have Been by Melanie Benjamin. This is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. It's kind of like a behind the scenes on the inspiration for Alice in Wonderland. It's completely historical fiction, but I really liked this, but I'm just never going to read it again, and I wanted to donate it to somebody because I read this 2 or 3 years ago and I haven't had the thought to pick it up again. I never really speak about it even though I really loved it, so I think it's just time to pass it along to somebody else. Now the next book I have here is another book that I actually really liked. It's Moth and Spark by Leonard. This is about a man who kind of takes control control of dragons in a way because they give him some of his power. This is a really fluffy kind of like romance fantasy novel. It was really fun to read and I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like a guilty pleasure read. I mean, if you read the reviews on Goodreads, they're not the best, but I actually really liked this. I thought it was fun and easy and I liked the romance. And like I said, it was more of a guilty pleasure read, but I'm not going to read it again. I don't know if this is part of a series or what, but I'm not going to read it again. And even though I did love it, I absolutely did. I couldn't tell you much about it. It was kind of like a forgettable book in a way, even though I know that I enjoyed it when I was reading it. So I know I'm never going to read it again, so I might as well sell it or donate it. Now the next book I have here was actually our quarterly book club pick, and you can tell that I have notes everywhere in this book, mostly because I didn't like it. It would be The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. I wanted to love this book. It was sold to me as a magical realism, but it's kind of not. It's more historical fiction with a little bit of spook to it. There wasn't a whole lot going on. I didn't really enjoy it. There were like points that I really liked, like the last half of the book I thought was okay, but the first like 200 pages, 300 pages trying to get into it was so boring. And I think the overall consensus was that most of us didn't like this book, and I don't really want to keep it on my shelves. I am going to go ahead and donate it because I have actually marked in this book. I did highlight quite a bit in this book, but I'm hoping somebody else will really like it because I'm not a fan. I wanted it to be more than it could give to me, unfortunately. And the last book we have here is actually a book that I've tried to read a couple of times. I got to page like 20 and was like, this is not for me. And if you're saying, Jess, you can't really judge a book by 20 pages, I personally can judge a book by 20 pages. The writing style in this was just, it was nice, but it was just too bogged down. It was just too heavy for me. And this is one of the most highly rated books I think that I've ever purchased. It's All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I just did not like this book. Like I said, I got 15 pages into it. I was actually reading it at work and a customer had come in and he's like, oh, I had to read that book. And I'm like, oh, did you like it? And he was like, no. There's an entire chapter where she's just like dancing on the beach or like reading on the beach or something like that. He's like, it's an entire chapter. And I'm not up for that. I don't think I'm ever going to be up for that again. This is more of a historical fiction, I do believe. I don't really know kind of what it follows. I was trying to go into it completely blind when I did read it because I thought it might be a book that I struggled with. But it got such rave reviews that I wanted to try. But unfortunately, I ended up DNFing it and I haven't picked it up since. And that was almost 5 or 6 months ago. So I'm going to go ahead and donate this as well. So that's it. Those are all the books that I'm going to be selling or donating because I just simply don't want them. A couple of these I'm kind of sad about. One of them, obviously the Philip Pullman series, I'll be buying a new editions of, but yeah, I'm in the mood to cull a couple of books. I've seen a couple people do some unhauls recently and I was looking at my shelves like, I'm out of space and I have a lot of books that I don't want anymore, so these are the books that I'm going to be donating. But I hope you guys are having a good week and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing, but I will see you guys in my next video.